Hi, and welcome to Uncle Scott's Pancast. We're going to start out today talking about a little bit of real-world hyperinflation. Hyperinflation, everybody's favorite subject these days. If you guys remember, a few months ago, it's been 5 or 6 months ago now, my wife bought me that turkey fryer. We fried a turkey. It was around that Thanksgiving, Christmas time frame, and we were all grousing about the price of peanut oil. And we were all talking about how the peanut oil is now more expensive than the turkeys. And we were already complaining about it back then. And I put up this picture. This is from Costco, the big Costco vat of peanut oil. It was $49.99 around that October, November time frame. I was in Costco this past week, the same peanut oil at Costco, now $57.95. So that's roughly an $8 price increase in 5-6 months. If you annualize that, that is more than a 30% rate of inflation, at least on peanut oil. Now the government says inflation is running 8-9%. Real world, it could easily be over 30%, especially on food. Completely outrageous. And this brings up a point and a question I want to ask you guys. I think back to my grandparents. I loved all my grandparents. They're no longer with us, but they were born, somewhere around 1920, and they all went through the Great Depression. And for the rest of their lives, and every time I remember, it was a big deal for them to spend any money. If they earned a penny, they held on to a penny. It was a big deal for them to buy anything. And these days, though, I'm wondering, is that still the smart answer? In hyperinflation, is it different? Maybe. Do you guys think it's much more smart to spend your money as soon as you get it? Sorry to say, sad to say that, but that may be the way to go in hyperinflation. Maybe it'll change, but this hyperinflation is out of hand. Another real world example. My wife and I were looking at used Toyota Highlanders about 2 years ago. Ones that had about 100,000 miles on them were about 24,000 bucks. I thought, well, that sounds pretty darn high for a used car with 100,000 miles on it. We held off, we saved our money, and now those same used Toyota Highlanders with 100,000 miles, over $30,000. So did we do the right thing, the smart thing? We worked and we saved our money? No, we did the dumb thing. We should have spent our money as soon as we got it. Something is horribly, horribly out of whack. But what do you guys think? Are you seeing the hyperinflation in your personal circumstances? Food, cars, housing, whatever? What do you guys think? Is it smarter to spend your money or save your money? Let's talk a little carbon steel. Last week I put up a review of this Matfer 9.5-inch crate pan. And I've also reviewed this larger De Buyer carbon steel crate pan. And I got a lot of questions from people asking me variations on which one is thicker and which one do I like the best. I think the De Buyer, it's a little bit wider pan, so this may have something to do with it. It seems to be just a skosh thicker. I don't have calipers and I haven't actually measured them, but it seems a little bit thicker. When it comes to which one do I like the best, well, I should say I bought both of these pans with my own money. I like both of them, and they both produce delicious crepes. If I had to do over again, I would probably buy one of each, but that's just me. Which one is better for someone else? Well, it all kind of comes down to looks versus value. I checked prices on these pans before I did the video, and these changed by the moment. But these De Buyers were right around $50. The 9.5-inch Matfers were sold out. I would like to think that our review had something to do with that. Who knows? But the 8 5/8-inch model was down around $28. And that's a pretty good indication of the spread between these two pans. I think around $50, I like the De Buyer because I think it's a little bit better looking pan and has a little bit nicer handle with the medallion and logo in there. However, if you're looking for a bargain, if you're on the value end of the spectrum, at about half the cost, the Matfer is a screaming bargain. So let's talk about beans. Dried beans, there's nothing more exciting. A couple of years ago, when COVID was first breaking out, around February, March of 2020. The supply lines, the supply shocks were starting. There were people lined up for toilet paper, bottled water. You can kind of see the fear and stress on people's faces. I did a video, a big, long, in-depth video about getting prepared and stocking up for what we all thought was coming. And I worked really hard on that video. I probably spent 20 hours working on that video, and I got ready to launch it, and it just didn't seem right. I never launched it because you could see the fear and the stress on people's faces. You can see it on my face in the video, and it just didn't have the right feel for Uncle Scott's Kitchen. We like to joke around, have a good time around here, and being worried about dying, a little bit of a downer. So I never launched that video, even though I worked really hard on it. Then we had the supply shocks. Then we've got hyperinflation. And now, just this past week, the CEO of Goya was on TV with Maria Bartiromo. I think it was on Fox Business. And he was talking about the coming food shortage. So I've been kind of rethinking this bean video, and I just want to talk about beans for a moment. The other reason is I make a lot of Italian soups, and I've got a bunch of Italian cookbooks. They are unsurprisingly written in Italian, but you occasionally have to translate the names of different ingredients. With beans, you often see cannellini beans. Most Americans know what a cannellini bean is. It's a white kidney bean. If you see an ingredient calling for ceci, ceci are chickpeas. Chickpeas, garbanzo beans, in Italiano, those are ceci. And a lot of Italian soup recipes call for borlotti beans. Borlotti beans, those are difficult to find. I can't find them at my local grocery store. They're even difficult to find online. But if you translate, a borlotti bean is often called a cranberry bean or a Roman bean. Now the other night, late at night after having a few, I was online and stocking up on some cannellini beans. I bought some Goyas. I had been at my local supermarket and seen these Bob's Red Mill. Over 10 bucks for 1.5 pounds of dried kidney beans. What is this, a bag of gold nuggets? No, I'm not doing that. So I went home and ordered some online. Found some Goyas, got these, and I bought 2 3-packs for about 6 pounds. Got those for about 15 bucks. And I also wanted to get some borlotti beans. And you got to be careful with that one-click ordering late at night. I saw a 4-pack, 10 pounds. Clicked on that, one click. And it turns out it was not 4 bags for 10 pounds, it was 4 bags of 10 pounds. So I have informed the wife we will be eating some Roman beans around here. But we saved these things up with food shortages coming. The CEO of Goya says food shortages are coming. I actually don't mind saving some of these up. For pure hysterical purposes, if you look on the back, 108 servings, 140 calories a serving. So that's roughly 14, close to 15,000 calories in a bag of beans. With my wife, son, and I conservatively saying we need 5,000 calories a day around here. If something really hit the fan, this would get us 3 days. It seems like a lot of beans, but it's really not that much in a dire situation. Now what we do is buy Montana jars. I got one right here. And this one by Anchor Hocking. We often buy the ones with either the metal lids or the plastic lids. My mom buys them that have the glass lids, but I have a little kid running around. He likes to take lids off and put them back on, and I don't want to get any chips in the glass there. This one's about a 1.5 gallon jar. And we're going to see how many beans will fit in a 1.5 gallon Montana jar. Now I lived in Montana for quite a while. I don't remember anything particular. Now I lived in Montana for a while. I don't remember anything particularly special about the jars up there. Hang on, bud. I did live in Montana, bud. Hey, I'm talking to the camera now, man. So in this 1.5 gallon Montana jar, it will hold roughly 10 pounds of dried beans. Now you can easily get these bags of beans and throw them in a pantry or a supply closet and leave them. I find that if I go ahead and open them and put them in a jar and put this jar in the kitchen, I'm much more likely to use them. So if I can see them and I know they're there, I will use them. So really, in a survival situation, for me and my family, 3 days of food. Also at Costco, I picked up one of these bags of rice. 12 pounds of rice gets you 150 calories, 120 servings, 18,000 calories more or less in a bag of rice. Now I'm not advocating hoarding anything. It's only hoarding when your neighbor does it. But if you take a $100 bill and go to Costco and buy a couple of bags of rice and a couple of big bags of beans, should anything really hit the fan, you'd probably be okay for a couple of months at least. So probably doesn't hurt to stock up a little bit these days, as sorry as I am to say that. And have we talked about Costco enough? One more item from Costco. We mentioned in the last pancast that Costco Gruyere cheese. Pretty good deal on Gruyere at Costco, about $12 for a pound of Gruyere. And I wanted to talk about that with some gratin tips. We've been talking about this stove oval gratin pan a lot lately. Been making more gratins, and I mentioned in the review video that one of my gratins, the cauliflower and broccoli gratin, was a little bit wet. And someone wrote in with a tip, and now I can't find it, so I'm not sure who to credit for this, but someone wrote in with a tip, and I lost it, saying to let that broccoli and cauliflower steam a little bit more before putting it in the gratin. I always boil my broccoli and cauliflower a little bit, helps on the old digestive tract, 6-7 minutes, and then I take it out and then make the gratin out of that. So this time I let that steam for about 10 minutes, really dried out a little bit more. That helped out a lot. A couple other things I did to ameliorate the wetness in that gratin was I dialed back on the milk in my bechamel sauce. I used about 2 cups of milk in this bechamel, and that Costco Gruyere. Normally I would have just sprinkled that all around the gratin. I took about half of what I was going to use, added that to the bechamel, that really thickened that up, poured that on there, added the rest of the Gruyere, added some breadcrumbs, and I thought it turned out fantastically. So thanks for the drying broccoli tip to whoever sent that in. Sorry, I can't credit you. And I think the gratin game around here is slowly but steadily increasing. Also on the topic of food shortages, they say that Ukraine, we all know what's going on over there right now. I'm not taking sides there, but they say that Ukraine accounts for about 30% of worldwide wheat production. If that goes offline, then I also expect wheat prices to skyrocket. That's going to be delightful. Around here, we also make our own bread. I've mentioned that in other videos. We have a grain grinder. You can actually buy wheat in big pails. We do that, and fortunately here we had already bought 3 or 4 pails, usually 5 gallons or so of whole wheat at a time, and we grind that up and make our own bread. If you do want to kind of go the extra mile to do a little bit more preparation and get a grain mill, you can buy some wheat. We buy ours from Pleasant Hill Grain or from Amazon. It comes in good pails. It comes in big pails. Those pails have a shelf life usually of 25 years or so, quickly approaching the point where I don't have a shelf life of 25 years or so. Okay, make sure you share your opinions on this hyperinflation in the comment section below the video. Should the nukes fly between now and the next time I do a pancast, you guys will find me in my basement eating rice and beans. Thank you for watching. We'll see you again next time on Uncle Scott's Pancast.